And then we started a new series, like Kevin mentioned here. It's called The Difference Maker. We started this last weekend. And this is really all about what it looks like to make an impact and to become a person of impact. We really believe, I think all of us feel this way, we believe that God created us for impact, that we're on the planet not on accident. But part of what God wants to do with our lives is he wants to use us in a powerful way. He wants to, at the end of our days, for us to have impacted other people in a positive way that helps move people towards Christ, towards hope, towards salvation. And we said, what does it mean to become a difference maker? And is it possible that God has already done all kinds of things to make that possible for us? We have to kind of discover those things and figure out how do we take hold of those and make those kind of activated in our lives. And last week what we did is we opened up the conversation. If you missed that one, I encourage you to catch up online. You can do that on our YouTube channel if you want to. But one of the things that we said is our relationship with impact and kind of making a difference, it kind of make some sense if you think about the moon and the sun, right? And so we said the sun is the source of light. It's where light comes from. We are not that. We're not the creators. We don't produce the light. What we do is we reflect the light. And so we said what we want to do is we want to get into a place where that light can shine on us and we can reflect and we can make an impact and a difference for others. And said, how do we do that? We said we want to explore that throughout this series. We want to begin to ask ourselves that question, how do I get into a place where God's power and his light and his impact can kind of show up in a big way in my life? And one of the dots I want to make sure we connect as we're in this series is this. I want to make sure we kind of see this. When we think about making a difference, that we don't simply think of it as just being a good person or trying to do good things. We want to think of it as the reality of that there's a deep connection between what happens in me and what happens through me. Here's the way I said it here in your notes. I said the difference made through us is directly connected to the difference that is made in us, right? It's directly connected to the difference made in us. I need change to happen in me, and that change then kind of leaks out and impacts the people around me. I want to make that connection and make sure that we never lose track of that. That if I want to be a difference maker, I got to have a difference made in me, right? If I want to be a change agent in the lives of other people, I need to embrace that change often has to happen in me. And whenever there's a kind of a divorce between those two things, stuff gets weird, right? So God made it to be this way on purpose, that the more I let Jesus change me and move me and make a difference in me, the more impact that there's going to be, the more difference that is going to be made through me, right? So we want that connection to be made. And what I want to do here in today and actually next weekend as well, there's going to be a little bit of a part A and part B here to this weekend and next weekend, okay? So if you're here, maybe dial into next weekend's, of course, as well. What I want to do is I want to look at a picture from an Old Testament story that has always been so helpful for me. Like when I see this kind of physical picture that the Old Testament paints, it helps me make so much sense of what it means to kind of take hold of our salvation and take hold of the difference that God wants to make in our lives and how powerfully that, of course, is going to affect other people. So here, let me give you a little bit of background, and then we'll look at the passage, okay? So big picture, right? If you're like me and maybe didn't grow up in church, let me just especially connect the dots for you. So that the people of Israel, or God had a special relationship with them, right? And what he did is he chose them to represent him in some specific special ways. What happened over some time is they actually were enslaved in Egypt. God did some incredible things, you can read all about in the Bible, to set them free and release them from slavery. Then they went out into this kind of desert, this wilderness, this desert area, and they kind of wandered around for a long time, okay, 40-ish years. And then eventually God prepared them, and the whole point, right, it was going to kind of get them moving into this place where they were going to take hold of what we know of as the promised land, okay? And they were to move into that promised land, and they were to take hold of this area, this geography that God had gifted to them, And in order to do that, they had to do some things. And this parallel, this picture, again, helps me make an enormous amount of sense of how we grab hold of the difference that God makes in our lives. And let me read you the passage, though. It's in Joshua chapter 1. And here's Moses had been leading this group of Israelites through the desert for a long, long time. And eventually he's going to die. And now Joshua is up. He's at bat. And here's what Joshua 1 says. It says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, he says, Moses, my servant, is dead. Just love how he leads with that, right? He's like, hey, man, your guy, he's gone now, okay? Nobody's coming to save you. Moses is dead, right? You're up, right? So my servant Moses is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give to them, to the Israelites. He says, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Okay, so now you got to imagine kind of this picture, and then we'll read the rest of the passage. Joshua is, right, he's up now, right? He's kind of at bat. And he's standing, right, on this land that has been promised to him. Not just to him, but to all of the people of Israel. And God's looking at him, and he says, hey, that Moses is gone, right? The guy who was kind of leading all of, right? Because there's all these other people that are kind of with, right? Tons of people, right? Like lots and lots of folks are around, and they're following. This whole group of people are behind Joshua, looking to him for leadership. And he's saying, hey, Joshua, you're up. You're up. It's your time, and it's your turn to go in and to take the promised land and to move into it. And he says, I promised Moses this land. I promised that, right, that as we get prepared, that the people of Israel were going to be able to go in and live here and kind of take hold of it. Now you're up, and it's your job to go do that. He goes on, and he says this in 1:6. It says, or in the next section here, it says, your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. He says, I will never leave you, nor will I forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. And then he goes on and he says, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Don't turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? He says, be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you everywhere you go. Here is the really interesting dynamic that is set up here that I want us to kind of see and recognize. What God is looking at Joshua and saying is he's saying, hey, Joshua, I'm with you. I'm with you. I am never going to leave you. I'm never going to forsake you. I have already given you this land. Everywhere you set your foot is yours. Okay? He says, I am with you. This is what God has proclaimed to him. He says, I am with you, right? Don't forget it. Don't lose track of it. Now, here's what's interesting. I'm with you, and then he also says, I'm not going to do it for you. Okay? This is really wild. I'm with you, Joshua. I'm with you. I'm not going to leave you, and I'm not going to do it for you. So what I need you to do is I need you to be strong. I need you to be strong, and I need you to be courageous. That says be strong, kind of. Man, my handwriting's awesome. Okay, here you go. Right, be strong and courageous, Joshua. I'm with you, but I'm not going to go do all this for you. You have to walk into this yourself. You have to walk into it yourself, right? I have gifted you this, and I'm going to help you, and I'm going to go before you into it. But you have to be the one who actually takes the steps into the promised land. And by the way, right, it's kind of between the lines, but as you do this, when you believe me and when you step into the promised land and when you operate out of this courage and this strength, all of these people that are behind you are going to be impacted by those decisions, right? As you kind of make a difference and grab hold of what I've given to you, you're going to have this incredible impact on the people that follow behind, right? God is going to set Joshua loose, and he's going to set him up to move into this. And part of what I want us to see here, and part of what I think is the reality and the truth of how God works with us, is this. I said it this way here in your notes. I said, the problem isn't that God hasn't given us what we need. The problem is that we have to take hold of it. The problem isn't that there are, it's not that God hasn't promised stuff to us. It's not that God hasn't already done mighty things. God has already do that. God said that this land, Joshua, is yours. It's everywhere you set your foot, it's done. And in the same way, right, if we pulled this out and looked at our parallel, here's what we might realize. I didn't put it in your notes here, but in Peter it says that, right, we have everything that we need for life and godliness. I just want you to hear that. We have everything that we need for life and for godliness. God would look and say, peace is available to you. Eternal purpose is available to you. The supernatural love of God is available, and it's literally at your fingertips. Real truth that you can stand on, that you can bank your life on, that you can anchor your soul around, right here. Right here. But then he would, in the same way, he would look at you and I, and he would say, be strong and courageous. You have to take hold of what I've given to you. You have to get your arms around the thing. And you have to make a decision to say, hey, I'm going to fight to take hold of what God has promised for me, what he has given to me. It's not automatic. I don't just look and say, well, God is with me, and he's done all these things, and now it's just kind of a done deal, because there's this reality that I still have to be strong and courageous, and I have to be the one to actually like take the real steps into the promised land. God's like, I'll do all the rest, man, but you got to do this part. And by the way, when Joshua was moving into the promised land, there's a reason why God would say, hey, you be strong and courageous, is because when he would go into this land, there were people that were opposing him. There were things that were scary to him and to all of these people behind him. Right? There's people behind him that would say, hey man, this is terrifying. We might die in this thing. We're risking things by moving in here. And Joshua has to make a decision. Do I believe what God has said? Do I believe that he is with me? And can I walk by faith into the steps that he has laid out for me? Right? And if I'm going to become a difference maker, part of what has to happen is I have to have this difference made in me. I have to take hold of what has been promised by God, what has been delivered by him, the salvation, the eternal life. I've got to enter into, grab hold of his rule and reign. His kingdom is how the Bible would talk about it. And there's not an automatic thing where I'm going to walk into that. Not automatically. You say, Ryan, does that mean that I earn my salvation because I have to put some effort in? Not even close. Remember, all this has been gifted already. It is mine. God is the one who is present with me. He's the one who's promised to help me grab hold of it. But then he looks at me and he just says, now you've got to be the one that actually takes the steps. You've got to be in the ring, sometimes throwing the punches, because I want you, here's the key, I want you to live and to walk by faith. I want you to believe me. And in order to believe me, sometimes what you have to do is you have to walk into your fear. You have to walk into the presence of other, right? Sometimes there's enemies that are real and present in the midst, and they're opposing some of what's promised. They're trying to get me distracted from what God has gifted to me. And now you and I have to look at that and say, it is worth it. It's worth the risk. It's worth the opposition. It's worth moving towards the fear. It's worth getting out of my comfort zone. It's worth doing some things that I might not totally love at first. They may not feel natural. I remember opening the Bible as a 19-year-old, never having looked at the Bible in my life. And I remember thinking, I've never felt so dumb in my life. I don't know who Matthew is, and I don't know what's happening. I don't know what a testament is. I barely know the name of Jesus. I don't know the story about anything in here. And it felt very uncomfortable to hang out with a bunch of people that they did their sword drills, right? And they knew real fast how to get to the right pages. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to keep showing up to this thing because, I think this is true and real, but it doesn't feel natural and it doesn't feel normal. I remember showing up to a church and thinking, I don't know what is happening or if I'm even allowed to be at this thing. But I'm pretty sure this is where the truth is, right? And so I'm going to keep coming, even though this doesn't feel always easy or natural or normal. It feels like I have to get over my insecurities and press in. If you want to take hold, if you want to see a difference made, if you want to take hold of what God has gifted to you, you're going to end up squaring off with enemies. Some of those enemies might end up being in your life. Most of the enemies happen within. It's my own insecurity. It's my own fears that say, man, I've tried to change before, and this area of my life just will not change. Maybe I'm just a slave forever to this. But God will look at you and say, I have set you free. I have shed blood that you might have freedom. Do you believe me? See, in this, there's this tension that forms where I have to look and say, I'm going to move towards that enemy and that fear, and I'm going to risk having my heart broken, or I'm going to risk feeling deeply uncomfortable in this moment. I might have to meet some people that I don't know them yet. I don't feel like I belong with them yet, right? Because here's the conclusion. It's worth taking hold of what has been promised. Because if I'm a person of faith, that's what's going to drive me. The problem isn't that God hasn't given us what we need. The problem is that we have to take hold of it. And there's confusion that has happened around this item to think, oh, maybe that's being legalistic because you're saying, Ryan, that we have to use effort. It has always been like this. God has done things, God has said things, and then the people of God have to not just say they believe it, they have to exercise faith. And faith looks like this. Faith looks like walking. Not just parroting. Faith looks like stepping in. By faith, the people of God have always taken steps. Because if I really believe what God said, it would be insane for me not to take the steps. No one stays on the sidelines and doesn't take hold of what God has promised if they really believe it. If it's really true that all of this is available. then there's no way I'm not going to lean in and grab hold of the reality of it. So here's the thing. If I'm going to become a difference maker, I've got to square off with some of these enemies within me. I might even deal and have to work through opposition from around me. If I'm going to break cycles and see change happen in me, all of that is going to take place. And here's the reality. As that happens, there's this ripple effect, man, that you don't have to manufacture, that you don't have to make, you really don't have to make anything happen. People are going to be impacted by you simply because you let God impact you. Because there's a difference made in you as you move towards what God has for you. There's this ripple effect behind you, and there's all kinds of courage given to other people that were looking to take the same kinds of steps, but they needed somebody to go first. You want to be a difference maker, you got to go first. You got to go first. You got to go first to look at the thing and say, I'm done with that. I'm done with that addiction. I'm done with that destruction. I'm done with that dysfunction. I'm done living in anxiety. I'm going to make a conscious decision. Hear me. I'm going to make a conscious decision to say, I'm not going to just give my heart and my mind away cheap. I'm not just going to sacrifice my heart and my mind to the algorithm or to my culture. I'm going to fight to take hold of what God has given me. Do you know the Bible says that if you're a follower of Jesus, you have the mind of Christ? Like, Ryan, what does that even mean? I don't even think I totally know. It sounds good, though, right? I mean, it sounds like a really good thing. Look what Paul would say, right, to Timothy. He would say, fight the good fight of the faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called when you made your good confession in the presence of many witnesses. Fight, take hold. That sounds a lot like Joshua, guys. It sounds a lot like Joshua. God's going to look at Joshua. Go take hold of the land. Go step into it. Paul's going to look at Timothy, and he's going to look at you and me and say, take hold of the eternal life to which you were called. You were called to live higher than this. You're called to living that is eternal. That's not just that I'm going to go to heaven and live forever with God one day. That is life that begins now because it's lived with God, with Him. If when I live with God, He gives me the courage to move in, to grab hold of what was promised. And when I do that, when I step first, when I move into it, what I need to know is this has always been the way that God used people to make a difference in the lives of others. If I look back here and say, man, I want to make an impact on people, first I have to look at what God has set me in and say, actually what you want to do is lead into faith. Take hold of what God has given you. Here's a picture of this that kind of makes sense to me. About 10 years or so ago, we moved into our house that we're living in, and there was some woods, and the house we were at before, we didn't have any woods, so we were just excited to have woods. I love woods, by the way. Like, I just love woods. I love the woods. I love chainsaws. I love being in the woods. I love the whole thing. And I was like, man, I'm just so excited. There's some woods available. I can't wait to be here so that there's woods. And we didn't pay super close attention to the woods. We were just excited to have them. It was one of those. We're like, okay, the house is solid. We're fine. Let's move in, right? There's woods. Okay, we're good. As we noticed at first glance that the woods had some ivy right around them. At first glance, we're like, oh, that's pretty. That's pretty. English ivy. Yeah, that's pretty. Oh, look how pretty that is. Look, you ever look at like those buildings in New England, or like there's ivy running up the side. Oh, look how pretty that is. That thing is an absolute disease, okay? Here's a picture of my woods. Do we put one up? Here we go. Here's a picture of my woods. The ivy is absolutely destroying my woods. Okay, I want to get my head around it. Are the woods mine? I mean, technically, kind of the bank owns them, but right, they're like mine, okay? Right, the woods are mine. The woods are mine, but I don't actually use them and own them and enjoy them. What actually owns them is the ivy, okay? If I want to take hold of my woods, I've got to deal with the ivy. I've got to attack it and fight it and remove it and destroy it and wage war on it. It's making sense? It's mine, and there's a role for me to play for what is mine to feel like it's mine, to be enjoyed like it's mine, for it to be activated like it's mine. And when God gifts us with salvation, when he gifts us with his peace and his joy, it's in the midst of entanglements that we already have. Here's my peace, and here's all that I want to gift you with. And there's these distractions, and there's these insecurities, and there's these sinful habits, and there's these other voices, and there's all these influences. And this is the key piece I want us to see. If I'm going to take hold of what God has given me, I have to make decisions to wage war on those entanglements. There has to be a conclusion that says, I won't surrender what is mine. Do you hear that? You said, Ryan, that doesn't sound very Christian-like, man. It sounds like you should be nice. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Because when I read the Bible, it sounds a lot like war. Not war against people, war against evil. And the evil that's trying to destroy me and steal my peace, to rip away my joy, and to make me, dismantle me into a person that has no impact and that is a victim to cycles. You and I have to make conclusions that sound something like this. That story will not be my story. When you conclude that, you become a difference maker. Why? Because as you are set free, you give all these people that are watching permission to be free too. So Ryan, that sounds a lot harder than just doing some good for some people here and there. Can't I just go to a homeless shelter and you might do some of that, that's fine. I want deeper. There's more work to be done. It's not enough just to be a good person. God is looking and saying, I want you to be a transformed person. The change has to go deeper, because the deeper the change, the deeper the difference. You hearing me? Guys, this is why we don't just play church here. We're not just, let's have some conversations. I want to be an altered person, man. I don't want to stay the way that I was when I came into following Jesus. I want to keep transforming and changing. And God would look at me and say, I'm with you, Ryan. I'm with you. And I've given you that. Go get rid of that ivy. Rip it apart. Well, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Where do I even start? Start there. Start with that tree. So start with that vine. And just start going to town. And guys, I want to land in a place today. I want to land practical today, okay? Because we can get fired up, and then if we don't do anything with it, and we just look and say, man, I got to do some of that ivy someday. I got to do this one, all right? I want to take a step take a step into the land. Take a step into the promise, even if it's a baby step. Say, Ryan, what could these steps look like? Here, I'm just going to give you some ideas. You might be around and have done some of these things. That's awesome. You might have different ideas. That's great. Here's some ideas to start with. Here's a few. You might look and say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to prioritize attending church. I realize that for some of us in this room right now, you started attending church and you're like, dude, I came twice in the last 6 weeks. This is the biggest thing I've ever done spiritually. Listen, if that's where you are, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Just keep doing what you're doing and don't lose track of it. Keep doing it. Right? Maybe go up a notch or two. Maybe you go every week if you're in town for the next 6 or 8 weeks and just get some momentum behind you. Okay? If you're new at attending church, I realize that's a big deal and it's a big step, and I celebrate that with you. That's momentum. Here's the first one, right? Prioritize attending church. Here's the next one. Maybe you look and say, I'm going to read through a section of the Bible with a friend. All of us are right? Many of us are going to fight to say, I know I need to be reading my Bible more. I want to. I did for a while. I got off track. What if you just picked, like, maybe it's just 3 or 4 books of the Bible. Maybe it's the New Testament. I don't care. Doesn't matter. And you found one friend that would do this with you, and you said, I'm going to get a Bible. I got a Bible. We're going to text each other every day or every couple days and say, how's it going? And you're going to send each other a green check mark and say, I did it. I'm on track. And maybe you have some conversations about what you're reading. Hey, you don't have to be in the same room. But what if you just found one friend and you did that? Well, what if this is the year that you actually tried a community or a course? You've been meaning to. You've been thinking about it. You're freaked out because do I have to go to somebody's living room? I don't know. This is scary. Okay? If you're like overwhelmed by the whole thing, again, it's like just walk down the hallway. There's stuff going on. Just go in a room. It'll be great. Okay? Just start somewhere. It's huge. But maybe you look and say, I'm going to take 5 or 10 minutes a day of dedicated prayer. This thing will help you to do it. Make an appointment. Make a reminder. Set it up on a repeating thing that happens every day in your schedule. And make 5 or 10 minutes of total silence. Total quiet. Maybe you're going to sit in your car, and before you go to work or go to school, you're going to sit there, or maybe as soon as you get there, you're going to sit there, and you're just going to be with God in a focused way for 5 or 10 minutes. Stuff is not rocket science. It's not always easy, but it's not rocket science. Okay? 5 or 10 minutes. Any one of these, right? Don't listen. You don't need to do all of them. Just pick 1 or 2. Pick 1 or 2. All right. Here's the last one. Right. Attend Discovery. Attend Discovery. It's today, by the way. Okay? It's today. I'm just saying. Literally, you would take the land. Why don't you first just take that hallway right down to Classroom D? Right? It's easy. Just go. Show up there. We'll help you get going and take some more steps. Do something. And some of you might say, man, I've done all these things. I've been around Grace for a while. I bet there's something that you know you need to do that I don't need to put on a list somewhere. Start doing that. Maybe it's more personal. And actually a very spiritual thing for you might be, man, I got to date my spouse. Or I need to confess and ask for forgiveness from somebody. I need to reconcile this area. I don't know what it is. Do one. Do one. And next week we'll come back and talk about what to do next. Okay? Do one. Make some movement. Get it started. Say, Ryan, break it down even further. Here's the next steps. Start somewhere. Start somewhere. Just begin. Pick something to do. Start somewhere. Any of those are fine. Just begin to do something. Take the step. And here's the last one I really want you to conclude on. Find a team. Listen, you can start doing this, and you can make some movement for a while. If you don't find your way into a group of people eventually, you're going to drift away. Okay? You might feel motivated when you're here, and man, I'm fired up. If you don't use some of that energy to find your way into a group of people, you won't be here in 3 or 6 months. That's how this works. We need each other. We need to be missed. We need to be known. We need to be seen. You said, Ryan, I'm terrified of doing all that. I know. Do it. Do it. We'll help you do it. Okay? We got to get back on the horse and try it again. Maybe you've been hurt and you're nervous. Start somewhere. Start somewhere. I got to. If I'm going to take the land, what that breaks down to is grabbing a step at a time a piece of ivy at a time and starting to unravel the thing. And as that goes, we start to see movement and momentum. Today, all I want to focus on is some action. All I want to focus on today is some action. If you heard this whole conversation and you don't do anything, I should check your pulse, okay? Do something. Ryan, that is not very spiritual. I don't care. Just do it. Find a thing. Tell your neighbor, I'm going to do it. I'm taking the land. I'm taking this step. Okay, that's enough of that. Guys, I love this. What we believe here at Grace, more than anything else, is do I want you to know Jesus? Absolutely. Do I want you to be baptized? Absolutely. You should totally do that. Do I want you to attend here? Of course. Here's what I really care about. I care that you are activated and alive, that you are thriving and living on purpose, that you are blowing through cycles of damage and destruction that you inherited, and that the people around you can't help but be motivated, inspired by your very presence, because they're just like, look at that person. They're on fire. That's what I want. I want you to live a life on fire. Ryan, can't I just live like a mediocre, normal life? No, not here. Okay? Not here. Because the Son of God gave his life that you might have life and have it to the full. Okay. Would you let that affect you today? Me too. I'm in. I need it. I want it. I want to keep moving to take hold of what Jesus died for me to have. Would you bow your heads, close your eyes? The band's going to come out. We'll sing and worship together. God, we're starting to see your vision just a little bit. I just want to confess, Lord, that my ways and my thoughts are not like yours, God. I've got to look at your word and see what you have in store for me, God. Sometimes it's just hard to believe that you love me enough to not only save me, to not only not send me to hell, but invite me to heaven, to invite me into life that is eternal right now, that I might become a person that other people are helped by, or that you might make me a reflection of your glory and your help. God, I pray that you would make each person in this room, each person watching online, strong and courageous. And God, would you funnel that courage into real, concrete movement in our lives? Real steps, God, that help us to build some momentum towards real faith, Lord. Would you move like that in our hearts and minds today? Help us to not get trapped or bogged by the fears, the anxieties, the worries. Set us free, God, as we grab hold of your promises and your presence in our lives. Meet us here, even now.